Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the SCSL. My name is SaiyanSC. I'm here, joined by Xun. We're going to be watching the round of 4, match number 2 between Light and Mini. This should be an epic series.
Yeah, this is going to be an absolutely wild one, Saiyan. I mean, Light is pretty much undefeated in this bracket thus far. Mini, I think, conceded 1 game to Sark on a map he was able to get away with 3 bases of 1 factory. So yeah, both of these Titans like completely undefeated, relatively speaking, in the bracket thus far. I'm hoping we'll see fireworks here, and I'm hoping Mini's emotions don't get the better of him. He did have a little bit of an issue against Light in some previous matchups, but hopefully in this one he can have a strong showing and get all the way through to the finals up against Barracks.
This guy, Light, might be his kryptonite. He is so calm under pressure, so well respected for just being such a solid Terran, like a wall of metal. This guy just does not stop. He does not falter. He always hits his builds.
Right.
And so Mini is going to struggle, I imagine, but hopefully we're going to get a great series. As you said, taking a look at the brackets now. There it is, Light not dropping a single game. That is so impressive.
I mean, he absolutely smacked down YSC like he was nothing. YSC's been playing better and better recently, but it looks like this time around in the bracket, he got absolutely dismantled by Light. I think that entire matchup was under in like 45 minutes or something crazy. Then he also dismantled Sharp 3-0, which is kind of wild. Sharp is no pushover. He's been performing pretty out of his mind the last year or so. Like we said about Mini, he did manage to concede a game to Sark that one time, but it was a map which Sark was able to abuse a very greedy build and getting away with 3 bases of just a singular factory. So we can kind of excuse Mini for conceding that game after handily also dismantling Ample in the round of 16 3-0. So both of these Titans, I would say, are pretty untested thus far going into the semi-finals match. Whereas Mini is like the sharp-clawed chimpanzee swinging from the chandelier. You never really know what you're going to get with Mini. Light much more cool, collected under any kind of pressure. I'm going to be favoring Light slightly going forward here, but you never know.
You never know. Mini has been bashing through all these Terran players. Now, if Mini goes down, we're going to get a TVT finals and a TVP third place match. If Mini manages to win, we will get that TVP finals. That's why I'm hoping Mini will put out a really good showing. Now going on to the maps now. We've got Minstrel, Pantheon, Monty Hall, Radeon, Kickback, Deja Vu, Dominator. Picking Pantheon, that's not a surprise from Light. Yeah. That's such a good Terran map.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, no bans this time around due to the best of 7 now. A Dominator saved for the final match is interesting. I would say this once upon a time was considered a bit of a Protoss favored map. Now I'd actually even give it a slight edge to Terran now that it's been figured out a little bit more. There's also been some adjustments to the map to make that a little bit more not so one-sided in certain matchups. So I think overall the map Dominator will be an interesting decider match. I hope it doesn't get to that, because I have a feeling that it's going to get wild if we go all the way 3-all with these 2 players, and having that as a decider map is going to be crazy.
Well, the way that these players have picked their maps really reflecting their personalities. Look at Light picking just standard macro maps, and then Mini choosing only the wackiest of the wacky maps. Minstrel, Monty Hall, Kickback.
Yeah.
I mean, funny little map. Funny map. It is their personalities right there.
It is. Minstrel, this 5-lane map where you can do all kinds of crazy shenanigans on. You got Monty Hall, the semi-island map, where again, like, his task switching and his multitasking can absolutely drive Terran players wild. And then you've got Kickback, and another map you can either do economic cheese on or very aggressive tight builds to kind of punish the other player who's trying to be greedy. So yeah, definitely reflected in these players' playstyles and how they've chosen these maps. And I imagine we're going to see a spear versus shield lineup between these 2 players. Mini trying to find ways of poking holes in Light's impeccable defense.
Absolutely. We're going to get right into game number 1 on Minstrel. Hold on to your butts. This one's going to be wild, guys. Mini, will he be able to give us that TVP finals, or will Light continue his domination? We're about to find out. Here we go with game number 1. We've got Mini spawning in the top left-hand corner. Our brown Protoss for now. We've got light bottom right, orange Terran player. Minstrel. This map can get pretty wacky.
Yeah.
Like you said, with so many lanes, can be hard to defend everything. The vultures are going to play a big role here. Also, massive counterattacks could really change the game for Mini if he manages to pull off something like that. Could get a big advantage.
Oh, absolutely, Saiyan. I'm a little bit concerned how this early game's going to go on. I mean, Mini's going to send out the early probe to potentially gas steal here, and Light has the option of potentially also blocking his ramp to deny this probe getting inside to make sure he can still make the gas on time. I don't always see Light going for that style. It's more like a sharp thing to do. Light's usually the guy that just lets you take his gas and then kills it with like 2 or 3 SCVs and, you know, is happy to play that sort of bunker expand variation. I don't think we're going to be seeing the ramp block here from Light to stop this gas steal.
Yeah, that ramp block has come into style a little bit, especially players like Speed like to pull off that maneuver, but Light, like you said, completely confident, doesn't need to get this gas down early. He's totally fine going into a gasless fast expand style, and it looks like Mini wants to Nexus first off of this. I think that'll be expected by Light as well.
Yeah. I mean, Light does have the option of throwing down a second barracks here to put on some counter pressure. It's not usually his style, but we see sometimes him doing that on a few maps like Neo Dark Origin. He'll maybe make a proxy barracks and do an unexpected rush here, but it's so unorthodox for Light to go for those kind of plays. You can get away with this Nexus first most often as Mini here.
It's become pretty popular to go for a Forge afterwards too. If you see anything out of the ordinary, any sort of indication that your opponent's going for a bunch of Marines to try and bust you, very easy to hold with that Forge. He's chasing down the SCV so diligently there, but finally the Marine will pop out. Not going to be able to get any kills there, but forcing a few things off the line, forcing a couple of responses there out of Light. We'll get his gateway on the way now here. Just the one gateway for the time being. Maybe Light put on a little bit of pressure. It's really hard to do anything when you don't have a gas.
Right. I mean, like I said, if he'd made the second barracks before, he could put on some counter pressure. Now that he's not elected to do that, instead just wants to throw down his command center as soon as possible, I doubt there's really much pressure that he can do. Mini is doing the greedy variation thus far of the 2-gate. If he cuts workers and makes a second gateway, it's the safe version, but so far he's not really cutting any workers to throw down this second gateway early. So Light is actually going to be setting up a safety bunker to put on a little bit of pressure, maybe force some probes to come off the line. If he can get like 1 or 2 probe kills here with a bit of early shenanigans, that would be huge. There's not a single gateway defending as he has to throw down the shield battery in response without the second gateway production.
Yeah, I wondered if Light would do something like this. This is the... I mean, it's not that much of a commitment. He didn't finish the bunker, so he doesn't have to do... Oh, he's going to cancel. Oh my gosh, so close. 1 HP on that bunker. And the shield battery is going to help out a lot here. Getting rid of this SCV. 2 HP on the SCV now.
This is
crazy. Oh my goodness. Light is getting away with a lot here. He is going to have to pull back now. Loses the SCV. Now he can't continue the bunker push any further. But he can cancel that second bunker. No harm, no foul. Backs up. And will just go on to the CC now.
Yeah, I mean, forcing a couple of probes off the lines, a little bit lost mining time. We did force a shield battery as well. That kind of compensates for the earlier Nexus. It's like forcing the Protoss player to pay some taxes, much how the Protoss player usually lays siege to the bunker with early range and forces the Terran to repair to make them pay a little bit of a tax bill. Just done inversely here with this early Marine pressure. Now having 6 Marines to defend also makes him very safe against any early shenanigans from Mini, vice versa, and has a lot of anti-air available to him. So even without Goliaths, he's going to have chances of shooting down any shuttle play.
That's true. I think that was more of a skill check than anything there. If Mini didn't build the shield battery,
right,
he would have been in a little bit more trouble. Like, he could have finished that second bunker and started to hit the Nexus and caused a bit of a problem for Mini, but because he knows exactly what to do, he handles it properly. And he passes that skill check. Now on to the next stage of the game. Light adding on a couple of factories and a Nexus so early. Oh my goodness, this is a crazy early Nexus from Mini. That third Nexus coming down around the 5-minute mark.
Yeah.
If Light catches wind of this, he is just going to pull the trigger on a big attack right away. Probably a 4 factory attack and just wipe that base out. This is so risky from Mini.
Oh, absolutely. He's doubling down on the greed for sure. It could pay dividends in the coming phases, but with the 3 factory play coming out of Light, it does seem like he wants to have options of moving out at some point soon. If he just made 2 factories here and teched up, you could make the argument that there's just no way you could ever push out onto the map. With the 3 factory pressure build as a follow-up, he does have some options available to him. Mini wisely throwing down some additional gateways as well. He's going to need every help in production to make sure he can stop any kind of timing push from Light in this early phase.
Very important that he took out that SCV. It was on the trajectory towards this 3rd base. And like I said, if you catch wind of this, if Light knows that that's coming down, the response is pretty clear. Just get up to 4 factories really quickly.
3 shops.
Adds a 3rd shop. That is very interesting.
I think he's going to do like a 7 to 9 tank push, and he's just going to make a ton of tanks here.
Well, I don't see an armory, so you might be right. Building a ton of tanks and then following up with pure Vulture Rally afterwards? Is that what you're thinking?
I think so. I think he's going to make like crazy amounts of tanks, and he's going to try and explode up to like 6 to 9 tanks as soon as possible, and then just go for a massive timing push to try and punish this early greed from Mini. And he's rightly assumed that Mini's being doubly greedy behind this.
Some scans going down. We're going to get the view of what's been scanned now. There it is. He sees the 3rd. Oh, Light. He's lined this up really nicely, and he knows that his opponent's not going to have much tech. You cannot afford everything all at once, no matter what Artosis tells you. As a Protoss player, you have to cut corners somewhere to get out this early Nexus.
Right. Yeah,
And
he does
so,
now have 4 factories to produce out of, but he's kind of behind the curve of production. If Light's going to be churning out 3 tanks at a time right now, eventually there will be almost as many tanks as there are Dragoons. This could get out of hand very quickly for Mini.
These tanks are going to start moving forward already. Just the 4 here at the front. He gets a free Dragoon kill as well. He made a medic. This medic is going to help the Marines be a little bit more tanky during this push.
Yeah.
And he is coming. There's nothing really available for Mini. There is a Reaver in the way. It's on the way here. It's going to come up soon, but there's going to be a time where the tank number is super high and there's not a Reaver out just yet. Can Light push all the way across the map during that moment and get into a really good position before this all comes to head?
Well, Mini needs to maintain control of this bridge area because he can't leapfrog turrets until the other side of this bridge. So if Light can somehow get onto the other side of this bridge, he's going to be in the clear. Mini knows that. He's going to be snaking around this area for a time being, seeking maybe delay with this Reaver. Light, beautiful scan though, sees exactly what Mini's trying to set up to do. Now should help him leapfrog these tanks forward. He does have those 6 Marines to act as a little bit of anti-shuttle as well, which is what we were talking about earlier. There's a lot of tools available in the arsenal of Light to make this push happen. Mini's in full desperation mode, just throwing down as many gateways and churning out as many units as he possibly can. Some units making their way to the north to set up a flank and going down this other lane, while Light's shoving down the middle.
Yeah, he didn't have a Reaver there. That's a little bit too quick. Light knows it. He was trying to do something a little bit cute there, Mini was, by showing the shuttle and pretending that there was a Reaver there. Trying to delay this by a bit, and it kind of threw Light to the side a little bit. Like, he was kind of concerned that there might be something in there. At least the Zealots can mess you up a little bit. Counterattack's coming over towards the natural, but he did not flinch. Now making his way into the natural here. Light is on trajectory to bust open this 3rd base right away. Looks like his bunker has gone down. His rally should be able to handle that though. And Mini just doesn't have Zealot speed. He is trying to break this with nothing.
this is exactly how Flash would try and play, even while you're being attacked back at home. Just try and shove the issue and clear up the attack with your rallied units as best as you can, microing on 2 fronts. So far, so good from Light, but honestly, this is a little bit annoying. You can't get any additional units to the front. Every second that Mini buys is precious, though Light's done the hardest job of getting across Mini's bridge now. He's threatening the rally point of Mini. Mini knows that he needs to put on more counter pressure, so we have this massive contingency of Protoss infantry going on the northern lane here to come back into the rally point of the Terran player and cut off all forces. Maybe somehow he can stop this push dead in its tracks, but so far Light's making a lot of progress.
This is the difference between a map like Eclipse and a map like Minstrel, is that the rush distance all the way around. Okay, hold on a second. Hold that thought. We've got Zealots getting on top of these tanks. Some of them are going to start to go down, and the Reaper can now be dropped here in the midst of all of this. Start to clear out this attack completely. All the Marines are going to go down. The tanks have been dealt with. More forces are coming here, but GG. Mini takes game number 1, breaking this push of Light. Really impressive first game out of this guy.
I mean, like, he just abused that map so flawlessly against Light. The wrapping around the northern lane to keep hitting the Terran rally point over and over again. That push only works for Light if he's got constant rallied units. And Mini perfectly identified the game state, perfectly body blocked as long as possible, sandbagged the push, and eventually managed to get a bit of a checkmate move by just getting hit more and more forces to that rally point of the Terran. And the rallied units just not enough to do the job, unfortunately.
Yeah, I was going to say about the difference between Minstrel and that map. Eclipse is that the Eclipse map, it's so much quicker to do those counterattacks. It's such a long slog, a long walk all the way around the map to get over to the natural, but Mini still managed to make it work. We're going to be jumping into game number 2 here in just a moment, but first map goes over to Mini. You were talking about this earlier, Xun, that is such a big deal, specifically because of Mini's the mental side of the game for Mini.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he is a purely emotional player. He has great mechanics and great task switching ability, but honestly, he's such an emotional player that it doesn't matter. He needs to be on a feel good to make that happen. As soon as he gets a little bit frustrated, it all goes down the chute for him. He needs to stay in control.
We're getting into game number 2. We'll see if Mini can retain that control. Know that Light isn't shaken. He's spawning over here in the top right. He's going to keep his head on his shoulders, keep macroing, and now on his map, actually, this is fantastic for Light. Look at the positioning here, Xun. You're on Pantheon. You're going to be able to push directly south through that very narrow corridor right into the natural. I'm predicting a win here for Light. This is going to be a very hard push to hold.
I mean, you can even expand with your attack. So you can take like the 3 o'clock base as you're pushing on that vertical axis, both attacking and defending simultaneously. Very much simplifies your win conditions as Terran if you so choose. It gives you so much range of play, and having to attack cross map is like the opposite end of that spectrum. It's so uncertain and it's difficult to expand while attacking because of the potential counterattacks, and you don't even know exactly where the Protoss army is because they can wrap around you on 2 sides when you're pushing cross map. So it does simplify the game state so much for Light here with this vertical spawn.
You can actually take 2 bases behind your push, and there's the mineral only and the center right.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true.
Nice position to push. I can't say how many times I've seen Terran players win on this map in this position. I feel like we don't have a statistic for this. We have a statistic for like how often does Terran win or how often does Protoss win in a cross map situation, right? But on Pantheon, how often do they win in these exact positions? With the Protoss player having the corridor leading into their natural that's facing towards the Terran player, I would say it's probably like 80%. Xun. It's so strong, this map in these positions.
Oh, it is very strong. I mean, Mini's kind of hoping for a cross map. I mean, he's going for Nexus first here. If he does get a cross map, he knows it's so hard to punish him. Now, though, once he scouts Light in the top right, there'll be a little bit of nerves for Mini. He may even do the safe variation of this build and cut a couple of probes, get a second gateway, and 2 Zealot, 2 Goon, to make sure that he's safe against any kind of early pressure from Light. And that will put Light in an even better game state going into that mid game with the cut economy of Mini if that does transpire. Able to block this probe from getting in, so Mini has no idea what this is. This could still be a 2 factory for all he knows.
Ooh, a clean factory there. 2 minutes and 25 seconds from Light.
Wow.
He is just firing on all cylinders with the right hand mineral patches, able to boost up and get into 2 minutes 25. That's a great timing for anybody, but much less in a tournament, right? Doing that in single player. He's basically playing on single player here in the early game, of course. You haven't even met your opponent, but here he is seeing his opponent down in the bottom right. You know that Light's got a little smile on his face. He doesn't show much emotion, but he's got that little twinge on the side of his lip as he knows that this spot is amazing for his upcoming push.
Yeah, and that's that second gateway and cut workers from Mini, so he is having to do the safe variation of this build to hold this. Light still going to be pulling the boys, though, and going for it. Even with the 2 Zealots and 2 Dragoons on the way, this still does hit at a nice timing where you can still put a lot of pressure onto the Preuss player. Beautiful scout from Mini there with that probe, going to be identifying exactly how many boys are on the way to help support this pressure. Does throw down that safety gateway to kind of body block and make it harder to push in and get surface area value with these SCVs, but still though, this is kind of not really going to be accomplishing too much besides sandbagging the push for a few moments here. Just one single Zealot and probes are available until the Dragoons start coming out now. Can he stop this bunker going up?
It's a pretty cool move to block the vultures from getting in here, but the bunker will definitely finish. The probes are a lot more useful when there isn't a vulture able to hit them. He loses quite a few probes, and it looks like he's going to have to let this go. He spent so much money on this low ground, almost attempting to stop this. One way that you can definitely deal with a play like this as the Protoss player is you just back up. As long as you keep your probes alive and don't end up losing a whole bunch of economy, a whole bunch of buildings, you'll be fine. But he lost a lot here already, and he's trying to surround this bunker as his range comes online to break this. I don't think Light's going to let it happen, though. He has to step back any SCVs.
Yeah, this is really rough for Mini because he kind of needs to save this Nexus now that he's committed so much into defending it. And because he's not able to do so, he's going to go into a DT play and just go for a Hail Mary here and hope he can somehow get Light off guard with this DT follow-up. But honestly, this is so Light favored right now. The only thing that really beats him is if he doesn't anticipate the DTs.
Yeah, I still think he's going to have enough time. Even if the DTs pop out right here, he's going to jump right on top of this Dragoon, catching it over on the right-hand side. It is so brutal right now, Xun. Oh, the mine actually gets blocked. He might be able to dive on the tank, but he's taking so much damage. He's just targeting down the vultures so that there's no more mines here. But that tank is going to prevent him from coming up for a while. Actually, you know what? Gunning down the vultures might have been the right call there. At least he's not going to have extra mines to throw down in the path of these DTs, but there's just going to be so much time as the DTs are walking across the map. Definitely Light will be able to slip out a couple of vultures and start to place mines to block this.
Yeah, there's another couple of vultures out already. One already arrived, another one on the way. Only one factory worth of production, however, so if he does somehow manage to buy some time by like maybe detonating the mines with the Dragoons and then the DT somehow slips out, I just don't see it transpiring. It's such a low win rate for Mini right now. I'd even say it's maybe below 5% easily with how crazy Light's response is going to be to this as well. I doubt he's going to be falling unprepared to this DT play.
He knows what a great position he's in. He's not even to pull back his SCVs. Here comes that DT. Mine going to connect on that. He tries to drag it into the tank. Actually does a pretty good job there, dealing some damage to that tank. Now going to deal with this tank here at the front. He should be able to break out through the bunker, but this DT, there's no way it makes it all the way across here. It's just not going to happen. And he's even going to set up a wall.
Yeah,
he's gonna set up a
crazy
little wall there at the front. Make sure that this DT doesn't slip by while he gets out a turret.
He's gonna teach Mini how it's done. This is how you build a wall to actually stop a push here, Mini.
Yeah, Mini tried it earlier. Was completely blocked, completely stopped there by Light. Now his DT is gonna deal 0 damage on the other side of the map. This CC is finished, and nearly a 10 worker advantage. Insurmountable odds here for Mini. as he comes out to throw down his own Nexus. I think, honestly, tapping out might be a good idea just to save yourself mentally here as the Protoss player.
I think he's already tilted, and that's why he's not tapping out. I think this is the start of the end for Mini, unfortunately. I think this happens to him too often, is when he gets a little bit frustrated because of a game not going his way, and then he like doubles down in his frustration and acts even more stubborn, and that kind of like acts as a self-fulfilling prophecy where he like spirals out of control mentally.
Let's pull it together, Mini. This game is lost, but there's still a lot of play left here.
Let's give him the benefit of the doubt. So there is a way he can just double expand now and go into Arbiter play. That's probably the best route for Mini, is to get a fast third Nexus online, sandbag with the DTs, and just go into like a 3-base Arbiter. There's a way of making that work. It's just against Light, who's even on workers, that's going to be very hard to overcome in the mid to late game phase when Light's just macroing on all cylinders. But there is a small hope here for Mini.
All right, we'll see what that small hope amounts to. Mini gonna try and take, looks like, this bottom center base rather than the mineral only. Got to get extra gases online to fund that upcoming Arbiter transition. Should be able to get that Nexus down here relatively soon. It's already at the 9-minute mark though, and look at this, Light is already pushing. He's already on the warpath.
He knows that Mini's way of coming back is taking this Nexus and transitioning into Arbiter, so he will put on a little bit of pressure and maybe even think about expanding to the 3 o'clock while he does this. Oh, that's brutal. Losing anything right now is so brutal for Mini. He's already behind the curve in both tempo and production. Losing any Dragoon for free here is potentially game-ending.
So this is why this position is so good. If you were wondering what I was talking about earlier on, about how great this spot is, look at what Light can do. Sieges up the tank in range of the mineral patches right there. You can never break that, and Mini just decides to tap out. This is why I said he should have tapped out earlier. Just save yourself the trouble, move on to the next game, clear your mind, and get ready for game number 3. Let's see how tilted Mini is going into this next one.
I can sometimes get chills watching Light play, because he does just understand the game on a fundamental level in a more superior way than most Terrans, especially when it comes to abusing the map geometry with tanks. It seems like he's just got the game figured out, and most Terrans are like learning from him. That's how they figured out how to abuse on the tanks on Retro, with just like being able to siege the base from the low grounds on the third. So yeah, pretty much everything Light does is worth studying, because even if he's not the best execution of player, sometimes he's one of the best in terms of understanding the game state and abusing it. Monty Hall is probably my favorite map though, Saiyan. Like, it's such a wild map. I remember playing this back in the WGT tour days, playing Nation Wars, and I wasn't exactly the best of the players, but you know, I could handle some of the Chinese B teams and managed to win a couple of games on this map in particular. Was one of my favorites. You can always do some spicy builds.
Absolutely. Let's see what Mini has in store for us now. He's spawning here in the top left-hand corner. Our purple Protoss. It's fitting. Meanwhile, Red Terran, Light, down in the bottom right. He's gonna be, his nose is gonna be to the ground, and gonna be sniffing out this cheese, whatever Mini has planned for him. Light's going to play as carefully as possible, I imagine, here on Monty Hall. Although, you know what I've seen lately is more Terran players opening with Wraith play against Protoss. It's been kind of like a fringe thing. I've seen a lot of speed games where he's done it, and this is like the perfect map.
Right.
Pull out to play like that, to go for some Wraiths and start to shut down those shuttles and prevent your opponent from harassing you.
Yeah, there are a couple of other maps where Light could go Wraiths potentially, but this map in particular is probably the most viable for Wraiths. You could argue that some Wraith harass to shut down the shuttle play on Kickback is also a viable option. It's great against going for Wraiths on that map. Wraith tank is a way you can play against Protoss in general. It's just so hard to pull off at the pro level. On a map like this, where it's, you know, semi-island and mobility and air superiority is so important, Wraiths can do a lot. Mini going to be going for a fast Nexus first here. I was kind of thinking maybe it's possible Light would do some crazy shenanigans like we saw Flash do against Bisu on this map once upon a time, making barracks at the natural expansion and then taking the gas so that he can exchange the minerals for Vespine barrels so that he can keep mining out the wall of the Protoss and eventually push in with Marines. But Light himself just be going for a very standard macro cheese here, throwing down this fast CC like Mini.
Well, I'm shocked. And this is not at all what I expected. Both players opening. You can do this. And actually, this is pretty normal for the map. A lot of people will do this.
The probe's going to get it.
Yeah, the probe is going to get here and start harassing this SCV. I can't believe Light didn't even scout his own base going CC first. That is wild to me. He didn't even look at those other mineral patches.
That's a little wild. Not only is he going to get harassed here, but you're right. Like, he should have checked the rest of the base. For all he knows, Mini hopped a probe over early and is making either cannons or gateways inside of his own main base right now. Seeing this probe scout probably tells him that's not going to be occurring, and that's a really annoying pylon block as well. It allows him to continue putting on pressure onto this SCV because he can't get a third SCV out here to make the safe, so he is going to be losing that SCV and precious building time as he has to keep cancelling the SCV building to push back the probe. This is great opening from Mini.
Yeah, Mini's really slowing this down. He could even build a gateway here if he wants. Is he going to do it? Oh my gosh, yeah. Oh,
it's a battery.
Shield battery, okay. And a Zealot's going to hop over, or actually the Zealot is going to come through after the mineral patches have been removed, and now it's going to be able to make its way over here. If he makes another pylon, he's going to be able to utilize that shield battery for a lot longer. There it is, another pylon in the wall. This is so annoying for Light to have to deal with, and he's going to lose the SCV as well. He's not going to get the CC done. Oh my gosh, he messed it up a little bit there, but I think he's going to get it. The angle, nicely done. Gets rid of that, and there's only one Marine here. He hops over the second Marine. Okay, the second Marine getting over the side. Wait, what are the Zealots doing?
Did he bug out the Zealot?
Got bugged. Oh,
I think he bugged out the first Zealot. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Oh no. Okay.
No.
I think this works out okay for Light now. I mean, it's a little bit annoying having this. I think Mini feels pressured to throw either a Robo here to Reaver push, or maybe another additional gateways to put on a lot of pressure. I think Mini feels a little bit more annoyed about the game state after the Zealot failed to get down here on time. That's a lot of wasted money in trying to sandbag Light. So now he's thinking about either throwing down a Robo to bust this bunker with a Reaver, or he's thinking about maybe some additional gateways to just straight up break him down with some Dragoons here. I think it's going to be the Reaver.
So what I think happened is that probes were being sent to the natural, and right as the Zealot was reaching those mineral patches, the probes blocked, and the Zealot turned around and went back into the main base and kind of walked around for a little bit, and that's what slowed down this second. Oh my gosh, two more gateways here at the front. Yeah, that first Zealot got slowed down so much. Should have been there to start killing SCVs and Marines a long time ago, but now it really can't do anything with the SCV wall and these Marines here standing behind it. Mini is going to basically all in from this position and just try to smash through Light's defenses. He knows there's no bunker here. He's got 3 Zealots to try and put this pressure on, but it's going to be really hard for him to break this. He's actually pushing forward pylons. Is he going to push cannons up here? What are we doing?
I mean, it's possible he may have made a forge in his main base. I'm not sure about that. I'm a little bit confused.
Gosh.
He is going to see the gateways, though. This is huge from Light. Now he knows what's going to be coming. He's making some batteries down here to try and make the trades more viable for his units in low number. This Vulture and Marines can beat this Dragoon and Zealots back, so Mini does have to be careful and try and buy any precious seconds for a few more macro cycles so these units can actually hatch out. Does manage to recharge a tiny bit of shields on that Dragoon just before the pylon falls. Another Dragoon now popping out. Vulture dangerously low in HP, but the tank has arrived, so now there's even more potential for Light to put on the pressure and get on top of these rally points of these gateways and shut this down before it's even got off the ground.
Oh my goodness, this is such a brutal shutdown for Light. Everything stemming from that one Zealot not walking across the map when it really should have. The Light was in a tough spot, but Mini's control here, his micro has not been the best, and he just didn't have the units there when they were needed. going to be losing Dragoons as they pop out of these gateways. If he has a Dragoon pop right now, maybe he can drag the mine. No, not able to drag it into that tank either. The light will kill the pylon, and that is GG.
Yeah,
no way.
Even on workers, and you've got 3 gateways dead in the water, there's just no way of recovering the economic curve of this game to being that playable in the coming minutes. So he will try and sandbag with shield battery and hope that light makes some miss micro here. With 4 Dragoons, you can 2-shot these tanks down, but it's just not going to happen. Even with these units on attack move, light could probably still break into this natural expansion and cause a lot of nightmares for Mini, who's only just now finishing up his robo. With only 1 gateway worth production in his main base as well.
That's a triple factory here for Light. And he's going to go ahead and start another CC behind this. He knows he's going to get huge damage. Oh my god. Huge mind connection there. Wipes out all the probes. He was trying to target those down before they could detonate, but wasn't able to make that happen. Light here just going to target down calmly this shield battery. Get rid of the pylons here at the front. He knows he's going to have siege mode here finishing up soon, and then he can siege over that wall to the north, start to hit the gas, hit everything here in the wall, set himself up in a position that just can't be broken. Here he goes up to the north, siege mode, boom. This is GG. Really no way to
He's not even cutting SCVs. He's not even cutting SCVs behind this. So even if somehow in like God's green earth, Mini finds the stars to align to defend this, he's still not looking good on the economic curve of the game. Light is still going to be like 10 workers ahead, even after he cleans up the attack.
Yeah, he's not going to clean up this attack. That position is just brutal. There's no way to get over there to kill that 3rd tank with all these mines and vultures and tanks blocking. Those 2 tanks on the top are never going to die. Once he gets over this wall, once he gets past this wall, by the way, once the vulture makes its way along the wall on the left-hand side, he's going to slip it up now. And now the tanks can actually hit the probes in the mineral line as well. So this has just gone from bad to worse. Mini will have a Reaver out here in a moment, but we're just waiting on a tap out. Really, Mini doesn't have a chance to actually break this, and even if he does, like you said, the economic position is so brutal. Tanks are continuing to move forward, and now even having a turret here, getting rid of those last mines, he knows that the only chance of breaking this is with some insane mine connections that just destroy everything, and so not even needing those any longer. He knows that he can just kill them off and he will still be fine. Mini pulls back his probes. He's on 1 base now, Xun.
I mean, and Light is going to be on 3 bases. Behind all of that, he was not only making workers, but he made a 3rd command center, mined out the middle lane mineral wall, and is now taking his 3rd base. He's on 45 workers. That's almost a 20 worker lead for Light, as well as a 30 supply advantage. This is absolutely insane. Like, what a one-sided showing in this game in particular. Like, Light is just showing an absolute masterclass in TVP and dismantling these fancy players like Mini.
I don't know why Mini does this to himself. He's going to try and take an extra natural down there on the bottom lane, but he should know that Light didn't falter behind this, and going into the next game with a clear head is much more important than battling this one out and trying to fight from such a massive deficit. Of course, it's always incomplete information that you're working with, but you have to imagine Mini knows how dead he is in this game.
Yeah, I mean, he's 24 workers behind now, and the supply difference is going to increase, unfortunately, with the 3 bases online, 6 factories worth of production. There'll be way less Dragoons than there are Terran units. I think there already is that. I don't think Mini can even produce that much off of his like 2 or 3 gateways right now to have any chance of fighting back at this. Finally taps out. A bit of a weird GG timing there from Mini. You have to wonder how tilted he is at this point. Light has just dealt with him in every way possible so far.
Yeah, he sees the 3rd base and decides to tap. Oh my goodness, Mini has got to feel tilted after that one. Just not letting that, or not having that zealot make its way up to the front. That's such a crucial moment. He did a really cute micro trick there by throwing down the pylon to block and getting up that shield battery. Initially, it looked very strong, looked like a very smart play from Mini, but even though he delayed the CC, with the follow-up not there, Light just overwhelms and putting down those extra 3 gateways, man.
Right.
Crazy stuff from Mini to try and follow that up. That is some emotional playing if I've ever seen it, right? The Zealot doesn't come forward and you're like, screw it, I'm just gonna make 3 more gateways here and see what happens. Let's roll the dice.
I mean, I can see why he did that. He probably wanted to do something similar, but without much commitment. He probably wanted to just put on some pressure with like 1 or 2 gateways worth of units and sandbag the Terran's progress a little bit in securing that natural, while then doing a proxy of just either 2 gateways or a robo, and then like Reaver pushing the bunker. That would be another option for him, but in that situation he really doubled down and just threw down 3 proxy gateways and put all of his eggs into one basket, and like made an omelet out of it.
Yeah, that was rough, but we're going to be moving on next to Radion. Mini lost his map pick, and so now he has to fight back on Radion, a very standard map. Will he be able to put his head in order, screw it back on straight, and play a nice straight up game for us? Try to bring this back to an even series. He's down 2-1. So we jump into this next one. Come on, Mini. Make it happen for us, guys. Here he is in the bottom right-hand corner. Light over in the top left. A purple Terran. Purple Terran's got a nice look to it, doesn't it, Xun?
Yeah, no, it's one of my favorite combinations, actually. There are some people that say purple Zerg looks really good. I actually prefer magenta Zerg and purple Terran. That's my favorite combination.
Yeah, I'm partial to the magenta Zerg as well. We've got the white Protoss here. At least a pretty decent contrast between these two. Matters a lot more in mirror matchups, but it's still nice to see.
Yeah.
I feel like, personally, I see brown the most out of all the colors, and it's the most annoying color to play against as well. It's so hard to see on the mini-map.
Well, that's the main thing. Yeah, it's the mini-map is the issue. If it's a color that clashes with the terrain, for example, like brown on those dirt maps or what have you, or green on the jungle maps, you just basically want to avoid anything that clashes with the terrain or the other player. And as long as those 2 things don't transpire, you can actually see what's happening on the mini-map and easily discern the action. But when that's not the case, it just feels like a jumbled mess.
Absolutely. Here we are on Radion, not a desert map. This is one of the most standard space tile set maps we have.
Yeah.
Similar to Vermeer in that it was made by AMD.
But way more balanced than Vermeer.
They shelled out for these maps to have them tested by pro gamers and created by the best map makers out there, and it really shows. This is a great map.
There's a lot of rigorous map testing that goes on. It's not just like they play a few games and they get an updated version the next day. They're shouting at the map editor while they're playing, change this, change this, change this. The map editor's like racing against time, quickly doing the edits, throwing the map back their way. They play a few more games, change this, change this, change this, screaming at the map editor so they can get the games going as quickly as possible and absolutely like figure out the map perfectly in terms of what is needed to make sure that all 3 matchups are covered perfectly. And you do see that painstaking process reflected in just how good these modern maps are.
Absolutely, Xun. We've got a Nexus first once again from Mini. Hard to punish, though. Cross-map Radion, such a long rush distance.
38 seconds or something is crazy.
I doubt we'll see Light be able to do really anything about this. In fact, he's end scouting that he's going to spot both of those 2 nearest bases. And I think that he's doing this because if it's cross map, he's just not even going to plan to pull the boys at all. He's not going to plan to try and bust. He's going to scout these 2 bases, and then if he doesn't see his opponent or Nexus first at either of these 2, he's just going to take his own CC.
I think the best way of countering a potential cross-map Nexus first here is just playing 11 gas and trying to get that first Vulture in before the Dragoons pop out. Deny a little bit of mining time, maybe kill a probe or two. It's just also cutting into your own economy to go for that fast factory that you don't usually see it, and it's not always going to be compensating you in doing a lot of damage here. Like we had a Vulture coming out already. Maybe you could get in here and punish Mini with just these Zealots alone. He's going to be feeling a little bit annoyed with this cross-map Nexus first not being able to be dealt with in any real cost-efficient way. He's just going to have to bite the bullet, unfortunately, and go forward here into a mid-game.
One way we've seen Terran players deal with this type of situation is to actually go very fast mines and take a third base extremely quick. Now, I don't think that Light is the type of player who does this, but that is it's an option. It's available.
He would on certain maps. It's just that's not usually in his wheelhouse to go for. That's much more of like a sharp thing to do or something, a bit more modern approach to the game. It can just go so wrong so quickly. You're relying on basically like one factory worth of units and mines alone to protect you on 3 different fronts. It doesn't feel sturdy as Terran, and with some understanding of the game like Mini does, you can easily abuse that. That's why probably Light will not be too confident in achieving something like that greedy play to counteract. Instead though, he's taking a few shots on this first Vulture. It's like gold dust, this first Vulture. Even if killing 2 probes with that wouldn't be worth it, if you did lose the Vulture still, you want to have the mines and the scouting information and denial of early push timings from the Protoss. It's way more valuable than just 2 probe kills, in my opinion.
He's going to have this first tank coming up, second factory on the way. Light very well known for his drop play, and I thought maybe we would see him try to get in here and deal some damage with those possible drops.
I mean, back in the day, in the Pro Gamer House days, like only his Protosses on his team had good drop defense against Vulture, purely because of how often he went for it. And whenever he played against the other houses, obviously they don't know what's going on unless they've been sent replays from one of their friends or something. They have no idea that's how the guy plays, so you just get absolutely blindsided. So hold on, he's actually putting a little bit of pressure onto Mini already. It was such a small contingency of units, just a handful of Marines, 1 tank, and a couple of Vultures laying mines and putting a little bit of pressure onto Mini, who hasn't got an observer yet. So sometimes with these mine detonations, you can get great trades. Shaving off the shields of those units with the fragmentation grenades of the Vulture does allow you to do a lot of damage quickly once you get into the hull damage of those Dragoons. The tank then and the Marines can go to work with their higher DPS. Marines actually have more DPS than Vultures when you get into the HP of the Dragoon, but the Vultures are great at shaving off the shields.
This is something you can do when the Protoss player doesn't take early range. He actually skipped the range to take a quick robotics. That's the weakness of the Nexus first build, is usually you won't have observers out very quickly, and that's the reason why going for a very fast third base and defending with purely mines is somehow viable in this matchup. But alternatively, skipping over range and then going directly into a robo, you'll have this faster observer out here than you regularly would. Oh, this slipping past into the natural, that's huge. Unfortunately, 2 Dragoons already in that mineral line. We're just passing that 7-minute mark, so it was ready for a potential drop coming in, but does the same job there, sniping down those Vultures, getting rid of them. Yeah, putting on that pressure. It's another way to punish if you end up skipping over that range for a long time, and Light did a pretty good job. Now he's out on the map. This is all being tracked by the observer though, and so Mini will be prepared for this. He's got of course a third base on the way already. This is actually highly punishable by push from Light, so I like this play from him.
This next run by has more potential to do damage now that Mini knows it's not going to be a Vulture drop play, so maybe these Vultures can sneak in, but I think Mini walled off completely. This is a great flank from Mini getting on top of these tanks. He's going to kill all of this very cost efficiently. He will kill some of these Dragoons, but honestly this is about as good a fight as Mini could have taken. Like, not many units have gone down for Mini, and he's killed 3 tanks and a bunch of Marines and cleared up all the mines at his third, and these Vultures are not going to be able to get in. So this is starting to be a much more Mini favored game state the longer that goes on.
Yeah, the fact that he just shut down that attack and he has this Nexus finishing up, this is a fantastic start for Mini. Doesn't look this good for a couple of games now, going into a Stargate as a
Yeah,
follow-up.
it's carriers, I think.
Friend to carrier? Oh my goodness. Mini
He's
is
a
not
free-base
well
carrier.
known for carrier.
No, not at all. That's much more of a stalk type thing to do. Whereas we're seeing a 5 factory come out from Light that will keep him flexible in both putting on aggression and timing attacks, and also make it much more safer in taking his third base. Sometimes even with going 5 factory, you're just using it to pump out a lot of units to be safe in taking this sometimes very hard to secure third base. It's sometimes so far away from a natural expansion that without a few additional units, the Protoss player can just find the wedge between your army and rally point, and suddenly you'll get bowled over.
We'll see if Light can figure out what's coming here and set up a decent push to try and break this. After losing your first 2 tanks, I think it's such a great idea to go directly into carry. He does take 1 shot on that Reaver. Killing off this Reaver. The Reaver is really a stopgap for the Protoss player. It's supposed to be here out in the front to slow down the incoming push so that these carriers have time to produce, but I think Mini will have plenty of time after killing off that first attack, slowing down everything for Light, and his upcoming push is going to be coming when there's already carriers out here, I imagine.
Yeah, I mean, he does take a big mine hit onto that Reaver, which softens it up, able to be targeted down by vultures now. Needs to be careful with that. And needs every tool in his arsenal to slow down the advance of Light, who now with these 6 factories can put on a lot of pressure. It is cross map, so there's that little extra few seconds of attack timing to actually get into position, and has to worry about so many flank potentials as well. That Light won't be too confident about moving out right now. He might wait for just a few more seconds here. He's got the 4 Goliath count, so he can 2-shot the shuttle down and help deal with any of the observers, but the reality is that he needs to be very careful when he pushes out. I mean, he doesn't know exactly what Mini's got to deal with him, and honestly, Mini's not got a lot, just 1 or 2 Reavers, and one of the Reavers is dangerously damaged. I think there's a way that Light can actually just push through Mini here and get all the way on top of his production, but he has to go very soon.
He's got to move soon, and he's not going to have the tanks he would otherwise had he not failed that push earlier. He's only got about what, 6 tanks here?
6, yeah, it's not a lot.
Weak looking push, especially if there's some zealots to be dropped on top of this, but critically Mini will not have zealot speed. It's not something that you can eke out with the carriers coming online here. There's got to be something again that gets cut, and zealot speed is not going to be available.
This is smart from Light, though, pushing to the right first so he can then attack vertically down to the south and limit the options for Mini to flank his army here. Tank's getting in a pretty decently entrenched position. Now allows him to rotate around to the outside bridge of this third base. Mini is desperately trying to sandbag this for his Reavers, but unable to do so. Beautiful target find with those Goliaths, targeting that shuttle, keeping those at bay, and now one of the Reavers going down as well. There is a chance that Light gets on top of him just before these carriers come online and get enough interceptors made to actually fight this back.
Mini may be going for a counterattack. Maybe he can rotate around this or catch some of the units making their way from that rally point. There's a tank here just north of this position. That would be an amazing pickoff. Remember, there's very few tanks in this army overall. About 6 total. Oh, the probes are actually bailing out of this position, and Light is going to catch every single one of them. There's the 2 carriers coming forward, but he just lost an insane number of probes. The counterattack's coming in, but tanks on high ground. Mini not able to break this, I don't think. With 1 Reaver popping out, maybe he can do some damage there, but with some good targeting and these rally points coming forward, I think Light's going to hold this.
I think so too. He's playing like Flash right now, defending with his rallied units while still pushing hard on the front line. This is great play from Light. Those mines are getting amazing. 4 goons and the Reavers going down in 2 separate skirmishes to those mine detonations. Minis must be frustrated. He's trying to dive bomb onto these tanks on the high ground with some Dragoons, desperately trying to get on top of the Terran production. And now Light smells a little bit of weakness. He knows that he will be getting these Dragoons on top of his production soon and able to snipe the tanks as they come out, so he's a little bit worried about that. Units actually trying to retreat, but Mini's ready for it. He's actually got units trying to catch the units midfield now. The fight is going a little bit light-sided, but it does still force these units back to defend rather than keeping the pressure on Mini, who has some of these interceptors now finally built, so we can start to challenge these Goliaths.
The Goliaths have been damaged quite a bit by fighting those Zealots and the Dragoons. Oh, Oh my gosh, is this carrier low? We're not going to get a click on that. But it was taking a lot of damage. Some good focus fire there from Light. And it manages to get his tanks back home critically. Even those tanks alive and killing off the Nexus. It's a really big win. I mean, I think that mine actually might have saved this game for Light. If those two Reavers get 2 big shots on that whole SCV line, we could have seen just a massive number of kills. So many kills in that natural. It's so stacked up with 45 workers in just 2 bases. He could have lost almost everything at that base, but that mine connection saves the day. 2 Reavers with 1 mine. Name a better value trade in Brood War. There's almost nothing.
It's hard to do that. Now Light with a much more healthy tank count of 10 or so, going to be able to not only take his 3rd base, but do another timing attack. The four carriers will just now start to be ready, and that's when they've reached their potency. You need about 4 carriers to actually start to go to work on the Terran, and 6 is where the major power spike finally kicks in. He can still achieve that on 2 bases, but it doesn't have as much sting, not as much ground support of Dragoons buffering against the Goliaths. There is still quite a healthy count of tanks to challenge any infantry on the ground, and now he's got these 4 carriers. Maybe he can fight back these Goliaths. He needs some good connections on these Goliaths with the Zealots and Reaver to have a chance of just smashing through this Light army. So far, he managed to take out the shuttle though, so Light's looking alright in this fight. I think he's barely got enough Goliaths that maybe he can start targeting some of these interceptors down. If he can keep the interceptor count low enough, it's actually really hard for Mini to fight against that. Usually you're worried about microing the carriers back to defend them from being one-shotted down by the massive pack of Goliaths, but he doesn't need to worry about that too much now. Just need to keep target firing the interceptors and hold position while pushing into this rally point. It will take the sting out of these carriers enough that he can keep going all the way to Mini's production line here.
We can see why Mini's not the player who we anticipate going carriers. He's certainly not as adept with them as a player like Stork, losing carriers in that last fight there as those 2 carriers fall. Mini breaks in the natural. His 3rd will go down and forced to tap out here as Light takes away the series. There it is, boys.
Not quite.
Not quite. Oh my goodness, I'm so embarrassed.
It's the best of 7. It's the first of 4.
It's the first of 4. Right. We've been doing best of 5 for so long. I am completely used to that now. I apologize, guys. We still have more StarCraft here. Kickback. The last chance for Mini. Can he start this comeback now?
I mean, you would hope so, but knowing Mini, I don't see it. He's just such an emotional player. He does usually fall apart when he doesn't get his way. I'm not trying to call him a spoiled child or anything, even though it does kind of resemble that, but he is a very emotionally driven individual. And unfortunately, when the stars aren't aligning, he's not aligning either. It all kind of needs to come together for this guy to play his A game, and he certainly isn't finding that in this series against Light, who seems to have all of the answers and navigates the decision tree with such finesse against someone of Mini's caliber. It's rather impressive showing here from Light.
We expect nothing less from this beast of a Terran player. We're ready to get into this next one now. What could be the last game of the night. Match point for Light. Mini spawning down here. At the bottom right. Cross map once again here, Xun.
I mean, that's what you need to do to win as Protoss, didn't you know that? You just spawn cross map, make a nexus, and you smile.
Certainly does give you a nice little advantage. But as we saw there in that last game, that's not exactly everything you need. Light will still find a way to beat you.
Yeah, he's just that
even
good.
Even with cross map Nexus first. Mini not able to take home that game on Radeon. Oh man, after getting such big advantages and still losing to Light, Mini's got to be feeling a little bit tired here. He's gonna have to go lay down after this series. He's had a real struggle, and if he manages to bring this one back, all the more tired he's going to be, because this is a real roller coaster of emotion for him as he goes into this next game.
Yeah, unfortunately, this is the Tsagi that you hear about. Like, when people are saying Tsagi, it's not that the race is OP, it's just that when the absolute best play the race, it seems OP. When someone like Light or Flash is behind the wheel and they're playing their A game, it doesn't really feel like you have much of a fighting chance. It feels like everything you do gets smacked down. Every time you get all the cogs firing, like suddenly a wrench just gets thrown in there and jams everything up. And you're like, what? You can't really handle these guys. But usually it's only like 1 or 2 Terran players that can even handle playing at that caliber, though.
Absolutely. Terran can feel like a metal wall heading your direction, and everything you throw at it just bounces off. And then you watch someone like Snow play, and it looks really like a paper tiger tearing through it like a origami. There's really nothing behind it, unless, you know, you've got that deep tank line. It's it's a funny kind of like a metaphor for Terran, the way that they feel so powerful, they feel so unbreakable, but then they're also at the same time so fragile. Such an interesting race to play, and that's why we see a lot of these great Terran players just stick around, even though it is such a difficult thing to master.
Yeah, neither player's playing greedy this game. Both players playing more tech orientated. We still got a one on gas for Light after making that fast factory. It looks like both players are considering early game shenanigans as an eventuality, and they don't trust each other. So Mini might be looking for some cheeky aggression here, and Light knows that there's a possibility that if he does try a bunker expand or a CC first, he might just get absolutely smacked down by Mini. So both players are very cautious at the moment.
Another player opening with a greedy build. That's kind of surprising for Kickback.
Yeah.
You expect a Nexus first here for the Protoss player, but he's being a little cautious and into some of that tech, and we'll see if he wants to take a really greedy third or something like that instead. Right. Did I see a starport in there, Xun? Am I going crazy?
I think you're going crazy. That's just a barracks and a depot and a factory underneath it.
I expected Light to go for a starport at some point.
Well, he
really
took
not
2
go
on gas, so he probably won't do a starport this game. He could put on gas and now go for a starport right this second. It's possible, but it's not necessarily likely. On this map, it's a little bit difficult with cross map to get away with something like that. You can still do it. Sometimes when things aren't optimal, they become optimal again because the other opponent doesn't expect you to do it because it's not optimal. That can sometimes work in your favor in these high-level games, but not able to navigate towards getting that starport just yet. Is like still feeling a little bit of pressure with this early Dragoon and Zealot putting on quite a lot of pressure to these Marines. Kills 2 of them before the bunker finishes up. Tries to get a third, but needs to back out. Vulture getting right in his grill and forcing him out from potential damage there. Going to be clearing up this Dragoon nicely just before he can deal out enough phase disruption shots to finish that Vulture off. So nicely handled there from Light, mitigating disaster.
Yeah, it falls apart a little bit there. Mini also not transferring his probes over to this natural on time with the Nexus. You can see he's a bit flustered. Losing that Dragoon. That was not supposed to happen. He wanted to get a little damage and keep that Dragoon alive at the bare minimum. And now he's 1 Dragoon down. Light has his CC up. Second factory on the way. What is Mini going to do to try and bring this one back? I think a 3rd Nexus. Yeah, here it is.
Yeah.
3rd Nexus on the way.
I have a feeling that Light's going to play tech mech and just chill, though, and I think that that's going to counter what Mini's going to try and do here. I have a feeling that Light's just going to tech up on 2 factories and get a double armory eventually, get like a really fast 2-1 timing around about 13 minutes, and outscale Mini later on.
I think he's going to get a really quick 3rd here as well.
Potentially, yeah.
3 base really fast on maybe 2 factories, something like that. It's pretty strong here on Kickback, but it only gives you 1 really good timing. If you push out and your attack gets smashed, then you're going to start to run out of minerals super fast after that. So you really have to make that first attack count 1-1.
Yeah. And this pressure build from Light, if somehow Mini can figure out a way of dealing with this cost efficiently, he can then go back on the aggression himself. The problem is that with 3 tanks, a Vulture, and Marines, and you lost that first Dragoon, if you're cutting a tool to optimize now as Mini, which he probably has to squeeze out this early third, now Light can suddenly put the pressure on again, and this doesn't feel too comfortable as a Protoss player. And is that a Starport in the top right?
Starport, yes. Starport top right.
It's coming. Doing it. It's coming.
Finally. I thought he'd do it at least one of these games.
Right. It was a staple for him for so long. He was the Vulture drop guy, and almost every single TVP he'd be going for this when players were just unprepared for it and getting so many free wins as a result. And now this wall kind of acting against Mini. There's no way he can get surface area to deal with this. He will be losing this observatory more or less for free. He even kills it himself out of frustration as a small moral victory to himself to keep some kind of pseudo tempo in his favor right now. Maybe feeling a little bit of frustrations and just how easily Light is navigating this game. Does try and push out and snipe one of these tanks. Is successful in doing so. Trading 1 goon for 1 tank is worth it in these situations, especially in such low tank counts. Does get a couple of extra face shot shots on that other tank. Vultures, though, body blocking so much that he's going to be forcing another pylon wall coming out of Mini here. This is really cost efficient for Light. Not only is he putting a lot of pressure to Mini, but he's killing a couple of these pylons that are being thrown down. That's every pylon's 100 minerals. That could have been a Zealot, and it isn't. Eventually, this Vulture drop will be transpiring as well, and that could be absolutely devastating for Mini if the Dragoons aren't in the right positions.
This is a sneaky play from Light, putting the Starport over in top right. There's so many different locations to defend for Mini. The 3 bases up and this natural being under threat. He's sending his observer straight across the map, and you know what could happen here, Xun, is that he goes across the map, he sees everything, and he sees no Starport, and then he just pushes out with all of his Dragoons and observers, and right at that moment, Light could come in with his drop play. I think that's exactly what he's hoping for with this Proxy Starport. He's gearing up to send that in now. He's got his 3rd CC coming up behind this as well. That observer's going to go over and see the 3rd CC, and he knows he has to move out. He knows he's got to get out here and start to do something about it. He hasn't moved his Dragoons out of the base just yet, so Light pulling the trigger on this just a little bit earlier, and so he won't get as much damage, but he will get quite a few probes regardless.
Yeah, there's a beautiful reaction time here from Mini. Will avoid complete disaster at the very least, but not before losing at least 5, maybe 6 of these probes. There's some additional Vultures trying to get into the natural expansion, much like Sharp would attempt to do with a high task switching. You can just pull a Preuss player apart, but luckily Mini's confident enough and solid enough that he's got that wall plugged up. But now dropship being loaded up to hit the 3rd base. I don't think there's anything in that 3rd base. We did miss a drop in the top left. Worker count currently even, so Reba was able to do some damage there. There is a mine. Needs to be careful. This could blow up on the tanks. Does do a great detonation on those tanks. Now Mini diving into the main base, trying to get maximum damage. The Vultures killing and denying probes in the 3rd base of Mini as well while this is all going on. Both players losing workers. Does lose that shuttle though. So I think Light comes out just barely ahead after that drop in the 3rd base there.
Yeah, the drop in the 3rd base might have killed some probes off screen, but in the end, worker count looking fairly even. I think that still favors Light quite substantially, though.
Right.
Follow-up here is going to be a bunch of Stargates and carriers again.
Yeah, it's not going to work.
That is a surprise. I did not expect carriers out of Mini even once this series, not to mention twice in a row.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to work. It had more chance of working in the other game than this game. I think this game, Light's going to deal with it even more efficiently. He's not going to be able to necessarily push and kill Mini earlier, but it doesn't matter. He's got 3 base of econ. He can just build up a massive count, 7 to 9 factories worth of units. Churning out that many Goliaths that early, it doesn't matter when you hit your 4 carrier spike. He's going to eventually outscale you anyway. Especially with the upgrades probably favoring Light and not much on the ground to support those carriers in the way of like a huge Dragoon count. So yeah, I'm a little bit worried for Mini, and we see that 2nd armory and science facility being thrown down now. He's definitely going to be getting into those upgrades very soon is Light, so we can stay scaling nicely with Mini.
Scaling up quickly, Light is prepping this next attack, and assuming he gets a scan into this main base, He is just going to launch this thing across the map like a rocket directly towards the natural of Mini. If he sets up in that natural and really contains him, starts to build a bunch of turrets in that position, that's where things become completely untenable for Mini. He has to get out and take a fourth, and he's got to build up these carrier forces, and he's got to stop Light. The list of things he needs to do right now is long, and he's for sure got to shut down this drop before it does too much damage. That's already quite a bit. Something about
Honestly,
4 or 5.
Honestly, any drop damage is crazy right now. He's 15 workers ahead, so like any probe damage is insane. Even he has dragoons in position to deal with it. As long as he's killing like 4 or so probes each time, that's crazy. Like Mini's already so far behind the economic curve in this game. He has to sneak some double expansions up in this top right quadrant of the map and try and explode. If he can somehow double expand and sandbag with the carriers and force Light to be distracted and teching up and worrying about the carriers, maybe while he double expands in the top right, he can somehow catch up in the curve of the game in like the coming 5 or so minutes, but that's going to take a long time for that to all come to fruition for Mini. And the next like 2 or 3 minutes, Light is going to be gearing up for a massive push.
Oh, for sure. This push is coming. No doubt about it. He's just setting up the best that he can before he pushes out here. Getting all those tanks ready. He sets out some scans, and I think it's likely that we just saw a scan in the main catching those carriers. They're not well hidden here. They're just kind of stuffed in the main base. Pretty easy to find those if you're scanning anywhere around that main. So
yeah,
Mini most likely just got scouted, and we should have a big follow-up of Goliaths behind this. +1 is done, but expect to see that 2-1 finishing up here any second now.
Yeah, it's a little bit slower than the usual tech mech timings. He got that science facility about a minute or two, a little bit slower than usual. So the 2-1 will be finishing up in like just a few moments here for Light as he's pushing across the map, just when he needs to as well. We've got these 2 carriers out here, but until he has 4 with 8 interceptors each, they don't really have the potency needed to chew through the Terran metal. So as long as there's enough Goliaths to screen those, Mini's in a little bit of trouble here. Light will be pushing to the south, and then to the east to hit the rally point. He doesn't want to push cross map here. He's checking the top right with a vulture. Does manage to take that out before scouting, but he does scan to see the expansion efforts of Mini. So he knows the game state completely now, and we'll be pushing along this horizontal axis towards the south.
Look at what Light is doing as well. I think he's floating out a CC to center left, or he's just going to take it now. I think he's going to grab a
Probably
gas there, or just setting up a turret. He's sends something over there to build, and he's got a CC that's floating down right now. So he's going to expand behind this in a location that's difficult for Mini to send his carriers, and then he's going to push in the opposite direction, force all the army over to this side. Mini might have to go for just a straight up counter attack here. I don't know if he can stop this Terran mech. He is even on supply, which isn't the worst for carrier, but it's still pretty rough.
Yeah, there's no real easy answer for Mini. He wants to stay vertical with the carriers to defend the top right quadrant, which means he can't really put any pressure onto this 9 o'clock base. So he has to instead try and defend the top right with carriers and maybe go across the maps with his army to the 9 o'clock and kill that. But instead he's doing the 9 o'clock option with both the carriers and the ground forces right now. So while Light's distracted trying to knock out this base over here, Mini's going to be diving on top of this base, trying to kill everything here, and then maybe try and even out the game. But honestly, this still kind of favors Light. Like, he lost the base in the top right. Mini doesn't have a base at 6 or anything, so there's no compensation for this. Like, Mini's in trouble. Mini needs to kill Light now. Like, Mini needs to just go and try and hope for the best and get on top of the Terran production line, maybe pick off the command center at the 3rd base, and then get on top of the factory count with the carriers and put a lot of pressure on Light and make him play defensively. Maybe there's a way of making this work for Mini, but I don't see it so far.
Ooh, that mine hit though. Oh my gosh, those Reavers. Had they been a bit lower, would have both died, but luckily they both survived for the time being. Gonna push away this CC, and in fact, he'll kill one of these CCs. So CC goes down. That's quite a big deal. Maybe there's the world where Mini can kind of stall this army out that's coming down to kill his ground army here in the bottom left, and then get into, 8 carriers where it becomes really hard for Light to fight. And he's not really going to have... Okay, this is a really good move with the Reaver there, putting that down in the middle of that army, but Everything's getting cleaned up here on the ground while Mini's bringing these carriers back. Finally arrives, but there's still so many Goliaths left here, Xun. He can only retreat north.
I mean, Light basically just shoved Mini into the corner and started wailing on his head and body. Took out pretty much the entire ground forces before the carriers could rotate back into position to support this. There is just barely enough Goliaths to screen these carriers as well. He doesn't have that count of 6 to just eat through this Terran metal, unfortunately. Even though 4 carriers are strong, if they start losing their interceptors, suddenly you've taken the teeth out of the Basilisk and he can't chew through you anymore. And look at that count of Goliaths. Light is not messing around. He's ready to go for a kill move in just a moment here.
Another base being taken down at bottom center for Mini. His carrier number is getting quite high, but he's waiting on interceptors. Carrier plus Reaver. We've seen Snow try this composition before with a Mass Reaver to sort of battle back the Goliaths. Most players will go for Storm to kind of supplement that, and for good reason. That Reaper goes down very quickly, and now the ground army is incredibly small. There are very few tanks to push that back, but the Goliaths are starting to chase down onto these carriers, getting some good damage onto these as they run back. The Dragoon number on the ground here, these really need to deal damage to kind of supplement the carrier attacks. This is just so many Goliaths though, man. This is crazy amounts of Goliaths. Is it time for a counter? What do we do here?
I mean, if Mini can just defend this, he's actually okay. If Mini can just somehow not die, he's actually in an okay position. He has a fleet of 8 carriers. That's a really healthy count. He just needs to somehow shave off enough of these Goliaths that he can start microing back and forth with the carriers and deal with the army. If he lets the Terran get on top of his production line, Light's in trouble. But Light, though, he's desperate to actually reduce the interceptor count into a manageable amount. He's doing a pretty good job of that on whole position with those Goliaths, shaving off so many interceptors. Mini has 8 carriers, but he's soon not going to be able to afford any of those interceptors. He hasn't got the probe transfer to 6 o'clock. He needs to load up the shuttle with probes and transfer them over to 6 now.
This is a little bit unfortunate. I thought that Mini was going to be able to do better with these carriers, but he just kind of let the interceptors all die rather than, you know, dipping in and out and making little pot shots here and there as the base is getting pushed. He just lets all the interceptors fight and die, and then leaves the main base to its fate. He's going to go across the map to this counterattack I was talking about earlier, but it feels so late now, and the Light is on top of everything. He's destroying everything. These carriers are out on their own with only 300 minerals to back them up. He's really not going to be able to reproduce any interceptors.
He did manage to get 8 probes over to the 6 o'clock, so he now can rebuild some of those interceptors on that fleet of carriers and achieve a pretty healthy counterattack here. But I mean, it doesn't really matter. This refugee style of Protoss isn't as strong as it once could be, unfortunately. And he gets down into that 6 o'clock pocket with a couple of Goliaths there, taking out the probe line. So this, what you see is what you get for Mini, pretty much. He will not be able to produce any more interceptors for some time. We'll be able to dismantle the production of Light. So he's technically base trading with him, but as long as there's a healthy enough count of Goliaths, Light should be able to out-trade him. It's just going to come down to whether or not he was able to squeeze out enough macro rounds of Goliaths that he can still screen the flood of interceptors the next time they meet.
Well, Mini has taken this sneaky base over at top right. That's right beside where Light is trying to take his command center. So it's going to come down to a fight for top right, it seems like. The carriers are going to try to make their way over there, but Goliaths have the lead. They've gotten out ahead of this, and they're going to make it into this base a little bit earlier. I don't think Light knows about this for the time being. Are there a lot of probes over there? We aren't sure just yet, but SCVs are going to get caught on the transfer. There's only 18 probes total, so killing off a bunch of SCVs here is actually quite nice. I just don't know if he's going to be able to keep making interceptors here. He needs that income. Oh, yeah, he gets up there, he sees it.
Yeah, this is rough for Mini. If somehow this was unscouted for a few more seconds, this isn't too bad. But losing a few extra probes and mining time is going to cost him quite heavily. He should be able to micro down some of these Goliaths. You can kill like 2 or 3 Goliaths in such a short span of time with target firing. Light's desperate to shave off these interceptors really quickly. He has some rallied Goliaths coming in. If they manage to get here in time, he's going to be feeling good about it. So far, Mini's done a pretty good job of shaving off some of these, but I think there's just barely enough Goliaths coming in this macro cycle where you should be able to overwhelm these interceptors ever so barely.
Yeah, he is going to be able to take down all the interceptors now. There's just not enough money left for Mini to keep this production going. And even if there was, there's just so many Goliaths bearing down on this base. It's actually getting remarkably close here, Xun.
Yeah, it's very
He's got
close,
a few more interceptors popping out here and there. He's running away, though. The probes are starting to go down. The main base is still being cleaned up here, but only leaving one vulture to finish that off. He knows there's no money left to make any units in these buildings, so why even bother trying to break that, trying to kill those buildings off? Now, this is the final engagement. If Light breaks up on this high ground, the game is over. If Mini holds on, then he's going to continue. He loses a carrier, perhaps with quite a few interceptors built into it as well, and that is it. Every probe dies, 0 probes remain, and no money left to build interceptors.
I mean, Mini's got to be so frustrated. This came down to the wire. Like 10 Goliaths or so was the threshold that was met by Light, where he just barely had enough to kill off the interceptors, and Mini unable to do much about that, even with Micro. You hate to see it. It's unfortunate, but he has to tap out. Really exceptionally well played from Light. Perfect understanding of the game state, and the decision tree was just flawlessly navigated by him in this series.
Absolutely. Now we're done, right, Xun?
Yeah, now we're done. Now we're done.
Okay, now we're done. Good, 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 good. Sorry about that earlier, guys. It is getting quite late. This is my second best of 7 cast today.
So we're going to be having Light go through to face against Barracks in that finals, and Mini will hopefully get some of his mojo back in that third decider match instead against Royal.
That's a good match. Royal versus Mini, that should be a lot of fun. Barracks versus Light, that is one for the ages, guys. Barracks has been a student of Light for a very long time. His pupil.
Yeah.
This is maybe the moment. This could be it.
We were talking about this a little bit off air, right? About how this is kind of reminiscent of when I Love You played against Boxer way back when, and Boxer proxied in his main base and managed to style on him with a little bit of a cheesy tactics. And that's the kind of the meme of like, I taught you everything you know, not everything I know. And we may see a little repeat of that between Light and Barracks here in this finals.
We might see that, or we might see the student surpass the master. That is also an epic timeline. If Barracks manages to beat Light, I think that would, at the same time, be a difficult moment for Light, but also a very proud moment for him as his student finally comes into his own, beating him in the SCSL. It'll be a great match either way, guys. Look forward to that final match that'll be coming out soon. It's been a blast, Xun. We're going to be casting that together as well, and all the SCSL going forward. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're sad to see Nyokin go, but he has a lot of other things going on right now. He's got a lot of IRL stuff going on in his life. He'll be welcome back anytime he wants to jump in on the cast. But for now, guys, you're stuck with us. This is how it's going to be from now on. So I hope you enjoyed the cast. I hope you had fun. That's it. Any last words, Xun, before we take off?
No, I'm going to enjoy bringing you guys some great games in the days, months, and years to come. And me as well would love to have Nyokin back. I absolutely love casting with that guy. I did a little bit of ASL casting with him and a bit of BSL as well. He's a fantastic caster, extremely knowledgeable and skilled at the game. Would love to have him back for sure.
Absolutely. His knowledge of Terran is incredible. He brought so much to the cast, and we are going to miss him. Guys, thank you so much for joining us here at the SCSL. Don't forget to like the video and support the stream. This tournament doesn't go anywhere without your support there on Patreon, so make sure to send some love our way. Thank you again. We'll see you in the next one.
Thanks, guys.
Okay.